Even if Michelle doesn't attend the wedding, we still need to decide a lot of things. First, have a good talk with your fiancé. Yeah, thanks, Dad. My husband Matt and my daughter Sharon, who treated me like heir for 9 years, decided not to let me attend the wedding. This happened a few months before Sharon's wedding. It seems they decided to hold the wedding near our house, and Sharon came back home a few days before the ceremony and stayed here. I'm so excited about the wedding tomorrow. Yeah, really. I wouldn't have made it this far without you, Dad. Thanks for everything. I only did what any parent would do. Even on the eve of the wedding, they were happily chatting, treating me like I was invisible. This wedding has nothing to do with me. Unable to bear watching them, I packed some of my things and finally decided to leave the house. Then the next day, my smartphone vibrated and rang. I was having breakfast at a cafe when I saw who was calling. Nervously, I answered, and Sharon's angry voice immediately erupted. What the heck are you doing? Where are you? She continued yelling in a high-pitched voice. You ruined my wedding. I am Michelle. I'm a 48-year-old part-timer who enjoys baking. I have a husband, Matt, and a daughter, Sharon. Technically, I'm a mother, but in reality, I'm not biologically related to Sharon. Matt lost his first wife to illness and was raising Sharon alone when she was in middle school. I couldn't stand seeing Matt struggling to raise his growing daughter alone after his wife's death, so I decided to marry him. Sharon was still in middle school back then. She must have felt lonely without a mother, so I treated Sharon as if she were my own daughter. But Sharon, who was friendly and obedient when Matt and I first married, has changed recently. Sharon, hurry up and eat dinner. It's getting cold. As I lightly knocked on the door, the nameplate decorated with cute pink flowers swayed. There was no response, but lively music was leaking from inside the room. Suppressing my slight irritation and urge to scold her, I reluctantly opened the door. Hey, Sharon, dinner is. Leave me alone. I'm at a good place right now. Her response to my urging her to come out for dinner was rudely dismissive. Sharon was dancing with her back to me in her room, filled with her favorite furniture. Since Sharon was in the dance club at school, she might have been practicing. But in front of Sharon was a smartphone supported by a tall stand. It seemed she was recording a video. Hey, don't just barge into my room. What if I was live streaming? You would have been in the shot. But dinner time is family time. Can't you adjust your streaming schedule? Family time? Sharon turned to look at me and snorted as if mocking me. Her demeanor suggested she found it trivial and uncool. It's such a hassle. After club activities, I have to eat, take a bath, and do my homework. There's no time for streaming. I'm busy. Not understanding this, Sharon spat out and slammed the door shut in my face. I let out a deep sigh. Sharon has been like this lately. She doesn't listen to what I say and tries to do the opposite of what I ask. But maybe it's also my fault for not being more assertive. After all, I'm not her real mother. The fact that we are only connected by marriage feels like a heavy shackle that makes me hesitant to be strict with her. Unable to say anything more, I reluctantly returned to the living room. The table was already set with 3 meals. With Matt coming home late from work and Sharon busy with club activities, I was usually the first to come home. So all the household chores fell to me. Since we all leave at different times in the morning, is it too much to ask for us to meet and talk, at least in the evening? I sat down and spoke to Matt, who was absent-mindedly watching TV while eating dinner. Hey, Matt, can't you say something to her too? Say something about what? Don't play dumb about Sharon lately. She doesn't listen at all, and she won't even have dinner with us. It's just a phase every kid goes through. If you're worrying too much. Even though I was serious, Matt only glanced at me before quickly returning his gaze to the TV. His nonchalant response made me wonder if I was indeed overthinking it. It's something every kid goes through. As a parent, I should be happy about her growing up. But the anxiety in my chest kept building, so I pushed further. I understand that, but there's a limit. I get that she has her own thoughts, but lately there are times when she doesn't even eat dinner. And then she stops by the convenience store to buy snacks during her outings. You're too picky, Michelle. Matt turned off the TV with a frustrated click. The silence in the living room made the loud music from upstairs more noticeable. Sharon still had no intention of coming down for dinner. I'm tired from work too, so deal with it, Michelle. You spend more time with Sharon than I do, but I'm going to take a bath without any intention of helping. Matt quickly finished the rice in his bowl and left the living room looking exhausted. At that moment, I forced myself to accept that Matt might have a point. But a few days later, it was a weekend, and both Matt and I were at home. Sharon was at school for her club activities. I had not had a proper conversation with Sharon recently, so I was thinking of finding a way to talk to her. Sharon used to happily share what happened at school, stories about her friends, and funny episodes with her teachers. I didn't expect it to be like the old days, but I wanted to have some conversation other than scolding. So I decided to make pudding, something Sharon used to love and always said was delicious. Hopefully, the pudding would lead to a friendly conversation. Since I was making it, I thought I'd make enough for Matt and Sharon's friends too. I went out in the morning to buy the ingredients and quickly made the pudding. Sharon came home in the early afternoon, looking quite exhausted from the intense activity. I'm home. Welcome back, Sharon. Good job at your club. You must be tired. I made your favorite pudding today. Hearing Sharon's voice, I went to the entrance to greet her. She looked exhausted, so I reached out to take her heavy club bag, but she snapped at me. Move, you're in the way. Hey, Sharon. What? I just want to wash my hands. Why do you get mad so quickly? Maybe you're the one lacking calcium. I called her name reproachfully, but Sharon didn't care. Instead, she continued, sounding more annoyed. I don't even want pudding anymore. I liked it when I was little, but not so much now. If you have time to make homemade stuff, why not buy some cute sweets from a fancy bakery or give me money to go to a cafe? Her offhand remark made my blood boil. Before I knew it, I raised my voice louder than I ever had and shouted at Sharon. That's enough. You don't talk to your parents like that, and you don't dismiss someone's sincere efforts, no matter how busy or stressed you are. You shouldn't be rude to others. Sharon, clearly startled by my uncharacteristically strong words, widened her eyes in surprise. Matt, hearing the commotion from the living room where he was watching TV, came to see what was happening. I was taken aback, but couldn't take back what I had already said. Sharon stood there for a moment, then muttered angrily, "You're not even my real mom." Now it was my turn to freeze. Her words hit a nerve, making me feel utterly paralyzed. Sharon brushed past me and hurried back to her room. I heard the door slam shut roughly, and when I looked back toward the living room, Matt had already lost interest and disappeared. In the end, I shared the pudding I made with my colleagues at work the next morning. "Good morning, breakfast is ready." I knocked on Sharon's door as usual, but she remained silent. Lately, this had become a common occurrence, so I returned to the living room without worrying too much. Sharon eventually came down to eat breakfast, not wanting to be late for school. Matt, who was ready to leave for work, was about to head out when I remembered something. "Oh, Matt, you said you'd be late today." My words were cut off by Matt's voice, overlapping mine. "Good morning, Sharon." I'm going out for drinks after work today, so you'll be eating dinner alone. Sorry to leave you by yourself. It's okay. It's work after all. Matt smiled and patted Sharon's head lightly. Sharon smiled back, replying calmly, Take care. See you later. I felt like I was being treated like air, stunned by the scene in front of me. Sharon resumed eating as if nothing had happened. From that day on, they both completely ignored me. This continued through Sharon's high school and college years. For 9 long years, even after Sharon got a job and moved out, Matt and I barely spoke. Matt continued to leave early in the morning and return late at night. Home was just a place to sleep, and he often spent his weekends out of the house. Knowing I would be ignored, I stopped trying to talk to him. With Sharon's education and living expenses no longer a concern, I started working at a bakery. Baking had always been a hobby of mine, and I'd long wanted to work at a bakery. I even dreamed of having my own shop one day, pouring myself into work to avoid facing reality. Then one day, Sharon came home unexpectedly. I'm home, she announced. I hadn't heard anything from her, so I was surprised and headed to the entrance. I saw Sharon with heavy makeup and a brand-name bag, and Matt was there greeting her as if he knew she was coming back. Welcome back, Sharon. How have you been? Yeah, not bad. How's work going? Well, there are still a lot of things I'm not used to, but my boss is nice and teaches me kindly. Lately, I've been finding it quite rewarding, and the pay is good. Matt seemed delighted by Sharon's return. After a long time, I also felt a bit brighter, and forgetting everything, I couldn't help but speak up. You're back. Welcome home, Sharon. But as expected, there was no response from Sharon. She silently placed a souvenir bag on the living room table and nervously said to Matt, Oh, by the way, Dad, like I mentioned in my message, is tomorrow okay? Yes, that's fine. Hearing their conversation in front of me, ignoring my presence, my briefly brightened mood quickly sank again. I had hoped that being away from home might have changed something and brought us back to a somewhat peaceful relationship like before. But in reality, our relationship hadn't changed at all. It seemed they had been in contact, but Sharon never reached out to me. Sharon had informed Matt about coming home but didn't tell me. Since Matt and I didn't talk, I couldn't prepare to welcome Sharon back. The next day, Sharon came with her fiancé. It turned out this was the purpose of her visit. We sat in the living room with enough chairs for everyone, facing each other. Her fiancé, John, politely handed us gifts, and I served scones from the bakery where I worked, with tea. Nice to meet you. I'm John, engaged to Sharon, he introduced himself. Oh, Matt seemed to know, but it was news to me. I was too surprised to be angry at them. John, in a crisp suit and polished leather shoes, had a clean and gentle smile. He looked like a fine young man, someone who I felt would be a good match for Sharon. Actually, I plan to marry him, Sharon said shyly. Let me introduce them again. This is my dad. He works late for us and is a kind person. And this is my mom, the woman I respect. Sharon glanced at me briefly, seeming like she had something else to say, but introduced me smoothly. John smiled warmly. Thank you for bringing Sharon and me together. We met at work. Her bright personality always helps me. She learns quickly and absorbs everything I teach her. She's truly a wonderful person. Stop, you're embarrassing me, Sharon said, nudging John's side with her elbow, clearly embarrassed. Their easy interaction showed how close they were. You two seem to get along well, Matt remarked. Yeah, he seems like a good person. That's great, I replied. Neither Matt nor I had any objections to the seemingly nice John. The atmosphere was filled with warm, congratulatory mood for Sharon's choice of fiancé, John. Sharon's boss seemed to be quite an elite, and Matt appeared satisfied with what seemed to be a marriage to a wealthy man. Accustomed to the cold air in the house, I felt happy to have such a pleasant atmosphere again after so long. Indeed, Sharon might be a bit difficult to handle, but that could be because she had a stepmother who wasn't related by blood, always by her side. But still, Sharon is undoubtedly my daughter. Blood ties are beyond our control, but if Sharon had chosen him herself, I had no complaints. He would surely take good care of Sharon. With this thought in mind, I decided to give John some bread as a gift from my bakery. Oh, I almost forgot. Please take this with you. It's a popular product from our bakery. It's very delicious. Please take it, and please take good care of Sharon. Thank you, Mom. Thank you very much, John said, looking as pleased and bashful as Sharon left. I turned to Sharon, who seemed to be in high spirits, feeling as happy as if it were my own joy. I couldn't help but smile. I'm so glad for you, Sharon. He seems very kind, and I'm really relieved. Congratulations. However, Sharon's face turned somewhat displeased as soon as I spoke to her. Sensing something was wrong, Sharon bluntly said, "Dad, I don't want to invite Mom to the wedding." Is that possible? Her words felt like a blow to the head. Sharon's tone was sharp, as if she truly hated me. While I was too shocked to say anything, Matt, without even glancing at me, nodded while looking at his phone. That's fine. You're the main character, Sharon. Invite whoever you want, right? Wait a minute. The utterly unacceptable scene unfolding before me made me raise my voice for the first time in a long while. Sharon, you can't keep saying such things. This isn't just teenage rebellion. That's enough, Sharon sighed deeply, sounding annoyed. Honestly, I never really liked you from the start. I only pretended to like you because you gave me an allowance. What? That's enough. Hey, Sharon, that's too much, Matt interjected, surprising me. Just as I was about to explode with anger, Matt and I had been married for over 10 years. Even though our marriage wasn't out of love at first, we had faced many challenges together. Although we hadn't talked much recently, maybe he still recognized my efforts. But then, with a sneer, Matt added, "Yes, Michelle has been excellent. Sharon, you probably don't remember, but your real mom was always sick and pretty useless. She couldn't work properly, but Michelle has done all the housework, taking care of you and contributed financially. She was perfect for the role." I was left speechless. Indeed, Sharon and I weren't biologically related, and Matt and I didn't marry out of love. Even so, I had always considered them my family and had tried my best to ensure they had happy lives. I had loved them in my way, yet realizing that my feelings were one-sided and misunderstood was too much to process. Well, even if Michelle doesn't attend the wedding, we still have a lot to decide. First, have a good talk with John. Yeah, thanks, Dad. They continued their wedding preparations, ignoring me in the house. I was still treated like heir. Even on the eve of the wedding, nothing changed. It seemed I would not be at him so excited about the wedding tomorrow. Yes, really. I wouldn't have made it this far without you, Dad. Thanks for everything. I only did what any parent would do. Something inside me snapped, and I decided to leave the house for good. The next day, I headed to a certain place. While having breakfast at a cafe, my smartphone rang. The caller was Sharon. Despite having left home last night, it had been years since I received a call from Sharon. "Hello, what the heck are you doing? Where are you?" As soon as I answered and put the phone to my ear, Sharon's shrill, screaming voice exploded. She continued yelling, her emotions spilling out. "You're the one who ruined my wedding. Today was supposed to be Sharon's wedding day." But on the phone, Sharon said the wedding had been ruined. My fiancé suddenly asked to call off the engagement, and we had to cancel the wedding at the last minute. And I heard you had something to do with it. How are you going to take responsibility for ruining my wedding, for taking away my happiness? Sharon's language was not something you would use towards a parent. I deeply felt that she never truly saw me as her mother. Yet, I no longer felt as sad about it. As I struggled to find a response, the woman sitting across from me spoke up. "Michelle, may I take the phone?" "Are you sure?" "Yes, it's not just someone else's problem." The woman was John's mother, Stacy. Stacy was a regular customer at the bakery where I worked. She also enjoyed baking and making sweets, and we had become good friends. After leaving home yesterday, I went to Stacy's house. I handed over the videos I had taken of my home life, which I had kept as evidence for a potential future divorce from Matt. "Hello, this is Stacy," John's mother. "What? Mom?" Sharon, who had just been informed of the broken engagement by John, was clearly startled. "Michelle told me everything. It seems you and your family have been ignoring Michelle and throwing cruel words at her, despite her efforts to be close to you. Stacy and I often had lunch together, and I had confided in her about my troubles. Of course, at first, I didn't know Stacy was John's mother. However, when I noticed the similarities between John's last name and the son Stacy occasionally mentioned, I asked her directly. As expected, they turned out to be mother and son. After hearing Michelle's story, I spoke with John, and we have decided to call off the engagement. This is the end of our relationship." Stacy's cold yet decisive words seemed to make Sharon panic on the other end of the line. "No, wait. Dad, come here." Sharon, sounding desperate, called for Matt, seeking help. I could hear Sharon's almost tearful voice and Matt's shocked exclamations in the background. Knowing they were both there, I took the phone back from Stacy. "Matt, Sharon." "I happened to see your messages. As I spoke quietly, I heard them gasp." It was a few days after Sharon had brought John home. I was setting the table for dinner. Matt, engrossed in the TV, had carelessly left his smartphone on the table with the screen on, and it caught my eye. I was about to turn the phone over, thinking it was wrong to look at his message history, when I saw something shocking. The messages revealed that Sharon had another boyfriend besides John. She was planning to marry John for his money. The plan was to live a life of luxury while secretly meeting her real boyfriend after the wedding. It was accidental, but I couldn't ignore what I saw. John, who Sharon had brought home, was polite and seemed like a genuinely good person. I couldn't just stand by and watch such a good person, who happened to be my friend's son, be exploited so unfairly. "We're going to demand compensation for breaking off the engagement." "What?" At her decisive words, Sharon finally let out a desperate cry. "No way. If anyone should pay compensation for ruining the wedding, it should be my mom." Sharon screamed, and Matt joined in, shouting, "This is ridiculous, Michelle." I felt overwhelmed by their anger, but Stacy gently placed a hand on my shoulder, giving me the courage to say what I had been meaning to for a long time. "Matt, I want a divorce." "What?" "It's no good for either of us to stay together any longer. Let's end this now." I had been thinking about divorcing Matt ever since Sharon became independent at home. We didn't even have a single conversation, and I was treated as if I didn't exist. I had endured this because I wanted to see Sharon grow up and felt a sense of duty as her mother. But now there was no need to endure it any longer. From now on, let's communicate through lawyers. With determination, I said this and hung up the call. Through legal proceedings, I was able to secure compensation and finalize my divorce from Matt. Sharon had already quit her job, fully intending to marry, and Matt had also retired, expecting to benefit from Sharon's marriage. Now the two of them had no income and were burdened with massive debt and compensation payments. Occasionally, I would receive messages of apology or requests for support from them, but we were already strangers to each other. I didn't even bother to read those messages. They were living together, burdened with debts they couldn't repay even by selling the house, constantly at odds with each other. As for me, I decided to return to my hometown after the divorce. Using the experience I gained working at the bakery, I finally achieved my dream of opening my own shop and now lead a fulfilling life. Stacy still occasionally visits my bakery, and our friendship continues. John is finally getting married this month. His fiancée is a beautiful and kind-hearted woman, a perfect match for him. I have been invited to their wedding. I'm excitedly planning to bring some of my homemade bread as a gift.